Okay, welcome to quad tutorial number 9. Make sure that you have a marker board, marker, wipe, and a calculator with you. If not, go ahead and pause it and come on back. Okay, so number 1 looks a little different. We have a trinomial, and we've been factoring trinomials that are quadratic for quite a few tutorials. But the problem that we see is that we have a 3 in front of our x squared, and normally we just have a 1. We never see it, we just see the x squared. But we can't go ahead and set up our parentheses until this 3 is gone. Do you have any ideas about how to get rid of that 3? Good idea. Why don't we just go ahead and do what we did in the beginning of this unit, where we started factoring by factoring out the GCF, right? The greatest common factor. So what's the biggest number that goes into 3, 6, and 24? That's right, 3. Can we factor anything else out? Nope, we can't, because this last term doesn't have an x in it, so we cannot factor out an x. So factoring out, you can think of it as dividing, or you can think of it as putting something in that gives you the answer when you distribute, right? Because we learned factoring out the GCF is like undistributing. So if I distribute this, I'm going to get right back to the problem I started with. All right, now we can go ahead and bring down the 3 and then look at our trinomial quadratic that we have and set up our parentheses to factor. So we're going to pull down our x's. We're going to think of two numbers that multiply to equal -8 and add to equal -2. We know we're going to be using one positive and one negative number. We know that we're going to make sure that when we add them together, that our answer is negative. So how about we use -4 and 2? We should be pretty practiced at this, that came to us pretty quickly, because -4 times 2 is -8, and -4 plus 2 is -2. And so now we're going to go ahead and look at something a little different, right? We have something times another thing that equals 0. And we can still use the multiplicative property of 0. It's just going to look a little funny with this 3. When we bring down the 3, we're like, okay, either 3 equals 0 or x minus 4 equals 0. And we're like, wait a minute, 3 equals 0? That's never going to happen, right? So we don't get a solution from this, obviously. That's a no solution kind of equation. We're going to go ahead and add 4 to both sides. So one of our answers is equal to 4, or x plus 2 is equal to 0. And so one of our answers is -2. So there are two answers to this original equation. And so today's lesson, or this tutorial's lesson, is about combining two things we already know to do something that we couldn't before. We're going to combine factoring out a GCF along with factoring a quadratic, that's a trinomial. All right, go ahead and switch to marker boards. Pause this, please, and then check back in when you have your work done. Okay, hopefully on your marker board you went ahead and factored out the GCF of 2, and then you brought down your 2, and then you set up your factoring. You said, okay, two numbers that multiply to equal -5 and add to equal -4. How about -5 and 1? That works. So you put your -5, you put your +1. You know this isn't going to give you an answer, so you don't bring it down. So either x minus 5 gives you 0, or x plus 1 equals 0, and you get x equals 5, or x equals -1, and hopefully that's what you have on your marker board. All right, let's switch to the second problem on your sheet. Once again, what's our GCF? We're going to go ahead and factor that out, and yes, it is 2. So we're going to factor out that 2, and then we're left with bringing down the 2 and factoring our trinomial. Two numbers that multiply to equal 12, but also add up to equal -8. We've seen this before, and we've practiced this, so we know that if two numbers are going to multiply to equal a positive number, but add to equal a negative number, both of them have to be negative, right? And in this case, it's going to be -2 and -6. -2 times -6 is 12, and -2 plus -6 is -8. So we're going to go ahead, put this in. We know this 2 leads to nothing. It actually just helped us to get to the part where we could factor. And we're going to find out that either x equals 2 or x equals 6. Those 2 solutions work. They both work if we plug them into this quadratic equation. All right, switch to marker boards. Go ahead and pause and then come back and check your answer. Okay, hopefully you factored out GCF and you set up and you decided your 2 numbers were -2 and -4. That looks good, right? You brought down your x minus 2, so t equal to 0. And you decided that your answers were 2 and 4. Wonderful. All right, thanks for joining me. We'll be doing tutorial number 10 next after you finish your practice and your work. Keep up the great work. Your marker board group work is just fabulous, so keep it up.